What up guys, Commander, and welcome to a new video where I'm going to be trying out a new software type thing called MidJourney. Now, if you're not familiar with what MidJourney is, I expect you're familiar with this thing called dall-e or dall-e mini, which is essentially a AI image generator where you give it a prompt and it generates an image. So let's say dall-e mini, which I'll link down in the description down below, is completely free to use, and it's quite old and it's not that accurate, but some people, like I follow an account on Twitter that posts all sorts of different really cool images, not particularly accurate per se, generations they've made via different prompts. But the problem is with dall-e mini is that, like I said, it's quite old and it's not particularly that accurate in a lot of situations. However, MidJourney is a lot more newer, and it is the things it generates is just completely mind-blowing. Now, dall-e has its own, like, more up-to-date version, but it's invite-only at the current stage. Right, so the problem with it being invite only is that one, I don't have an access to it, and two, apparently it's really difficult to get access to it. Now, MidJourney, I did get access to it when it was invite only, but the good thing about it is they've just opened it up to an open beta. So I'll leave a link in the description down below to not to the Discord link, which is where you get your free trial. So I'll put a link down in the description to this tweet so you can see that, and then all the details that come along with that. Just a side note before we carry on though, I am not in any way sponsored or endorsed by MidJourney or any of its developers. I'm only covering this because I want to express how much I love this software and how excited it gets me for the future of AI and image generation. And also, if you are coming to join this Discord, it is an open beta now, so again, link will be in the description down below to go and join the Discord, or the tweet that you can see over here that takes you to the Discord and all the details in relation to it. But do be aware that this software is ever changing very quickly at a very fast pace. So if, let's say, in a couple of weeks from now you come and join Discord, it may well be different, and it might well either be better or maybe slightly worse, depending on what's been changed or added or taken away. So watch this video. For the most part, it's going to be the same, but things will change and do change very quickly in the course of development. But what we're going to be doing today is we're just going to be going through the Discord to see what some of the things that people have made, and also going into the MidJourney bot DM to actually make some bots up, well, some image generations up myself through some prompts that I have made prior to starting this recording. So I think the best thing to do is just to go into favorites first, because this is what all the good ones are. So like this one, so the blue text is the prompt, this image is what the image is generated, and it says, for this one particularly, Joe Biden as Elden Ring final boss wearing armor with weapons, apocalypse, entry, red sky runes. And that's what it come up with. Like, the way that this software, I'd really love to know. I'd really like to chat to one of these developers one-on-one, just to know how this works, or to have a video with them, like, just explain how the software works. Not necessarily show the code, but just explain in words how this software works. So that's how this, like, bot works, because it is mind-blowing. Star Wars Stormtrooper helmet in the dirt in the middle of a rainy forest, cinematic render, 4K ultra realistic. That's pretty good. Obviously, it doesn't look like a Stormtrooper's helmet, but you get the gist. But the ground and the forest looks really, really good. And it actually looks really, like, obviously, ultra realistic, but it looks really realistic. That's what I can't get my head around. Man with futuristic spacesuit walking through a futuristic space mall with homeless people. That's cool. That's alright. That's cool. Dark angular area above a poppy field. Cinematic lighting, environment, yada, 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 yada. Again, with disregard like half of what this is, because it's all just has like prompts about how the scene is supposed to be set up. But dark angelium, I assume that means like just dark angel above a poppy field. Like, just from that prompt alone, you can get something like this. Like, that is insane. Like, that's amazing. But I follow Cinematic Captures on Twitter, and he was saying he's posted a load of different photos, which I'll put a couple of them on the screen now. And here's a more like Star Wars based one specifically, and you'll see some of the stuff that I've done is Star Wars specific as well. But he said that this tool could be an absolute powerhouse for concept art, and I'm inclined to agree. Like, you'll see in a second, I've generated some images for concept art based for Traitor 3. I won't show you lots of them, but I'll show you a couple of them that I've made, because it's amazing. You know, it doesn't have to be particularly accurate, it just gives you an idea about what a scene could look like. Samurai based one Photoshop of a wolf samurai, that's cool. Okay, right, so let's go into the Discord MidJourney bot. Now, how I've got this is I actually pay for the premium subscription. So when you join the Discord, you get a trial, and the trial gives you about 100 images to generate, and you might think, well, that's actually quite a lot. That will last me quite a while. When you're messing about with it, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. When you're messing about with it, it doesn't last that long at all. So the way it works is you put your prompt in, it gives you an image, and then you can choose whether to upscale a particular image or to make variations of one of those images. For each button you press, that's an image generation, right? And that's where your usage comes up. Not so much like putting prompts in to make it generate images, but giving you variations and upscales of an image. That's where your image like usage actually gets used up. This is one I did gunpoint to the head of the universe, which I think it looks alright. I was just seeing just how random I could give it, because you see that a lot in, like, you know, in Halo. I think that's one of the little like messages in Halo, like gunpoint to the head of the universe or something. I just wanted to see what it would come up with. So Imperial Stormtroopers defending a futuristic hangar from attacking hostile forces 4K. Again, it's not brilliant, but you can sort of get the gist, but it's not really concept worthy, and I'll show you why it's not concept worthy in a second, because of what I have generated as like what I consider to be working concept. This image would actually be a lot better if the two big Stormtrooper heads weren't there. Like, that would have been a really good prompt to go off the back of if the big Stormtrooper helmets weren't there. So that was a bit disappointing. This one is actually these ones are actually a lot better. So this prompt was Stormtroopers fighting with rebel soldiers in a futuristic hangar bay with dead bodies on the floor. That's actually pretty good. Like, I like that one or this one. But the reason why I didn't go for any of these was I wanted like an infighting like image. Darth Vader hunting for something in the middle of deep space. That was my favorite of the variations, so I made variations of that image, and I got a load of these. Apple and Avalanche. So this was me messing about at work. So while I was at work, I was just asking them to give me prompts to try and push this AI and see what happens. So military soldiers throwing a knife at Mickey Mouse, Pineapple and an Avalanche. Now these are the better ones. So this was me actually actively trying to get the highest detail thing that I can out of MidJourney. So what I started off with was ancient temple in an Amazon rainforest clearing, abandoned for generations, highly detailed octane render 4K. So I got these images. That one was my favorite of the lot. So I made some various image generations and upscaled 2 of them. And that's these ones. I got upscaled this one to max, and that's what I ended up with. Now, again, it's not perfect quality, but my god, is it ever close. Like, this is amazing. I was really blown away. It's the little details that really blow me away with things like this. You know, you've got your backdrop, you've got like your depth of field and things like that, and you've got your like temple thing in the middle of it, but it's the level of detail that is there. You know, it looks like it's in a rainforest and that it's wet because it's been raining for so long. That's what gets me excited about this type of thing, is just how much detail you can get. And like I said, that could actually do really well as concept art. If your like scene was about like a group of military like Marines, whether it be like, let's say, American Marines investigating a abandoned temple looking for an artifact in the Amazon rainforest, you could use that as a concept art for the setting in which the exterior of your scene is going to take place. These are me generating stormtroopers. This is one of the concept art pieces, so stormtroopers wandering around a forest. Could argue it's Endor, but as you can see, it's not like horrendous. They're not brilliant by any means, but you can definitely get the gist that that's what they are. So here you see, so one of the first scenes I've got, which is actually on the back of that image that you've just seen. So the prompt I set for this was military base being attacked by hostile forces in a forest or something like that, and it brought out this. And again, this is one of the concept arts I'm going to be using for Traitor. So one of the first scenes that actually exist in the script of Traitor 3 is a battle between the 450th and rebels in a forest area. So that's basically what I'm getting online with here. That's the same thing, but from a different angle. You could argue it's actually just a different image generation, but you can see that they're in tight fighting between the two. Now, obviously, it's not going to look exactly like this because I'm going to add various sci-fi elements to it. So you like AT-AT walkers and turbo lasers and like rebel ships and like ATTs and ATSTs and things like that. This one is just me trying to replicate a fleet battle. So you've got like kind of ships, Star Destroyers in the sky, and then ships crashing and burning. That's the Darth Vader Admiral concept arts that exist but with a blur, added a blur in Photoshop, because like I said, the blur just gives the clarity a bit more, like, it doesn't make the declarity within the, like, on his feet or in his hands. It makes it look less obvious, I think, anyway. That's another Imperial fleet around the Death Star. So like, I usually see a Death Star construction site. Military hangar bay. So this is me like trying to visualize in my head what a hangar bay would look like in let's say, whether it be a Star Destroyer hangar or a Death Star hangar or something. That's again the same thing. This is CO450 talking to Admiral Cullen, which is one of the admirals in Trader 3. And again, like I said, it's not obviously not accurate, but you can tell that that's a stormtrooper and that's some form of high-ranking official, military official. And like I said, I'm not saying that that's how Admiral Cullen is going to look in Traitor 3, but it's to give me a visualization of that's what Admiral Cullen could look like. You know? It's a weird thing for me to try and explain, but just visually being able to see what something could look like is a lot better than trying to do it from head memory. Again, this is, Imperial Star Destroyers in space. Again, this was just me brainstorming a little bit. Again, trying to push the things. So Star Destroyer Wreckage is the name I've given this image. Whether I'm going to use this or not, I'm not entirely sure. This is just me brainstorming, but there's a couple here. That's another one, Star Destroyer Wreckage in space. Again, maybe not something I might use, but I'm just brainstorming, giving myself ideas for things that I could do. These are the stormtroopers in the forest that you saw in Discord. And that's just me messing about with stormtroopers, right? So what we're going to be doing now is I'm going to show you exactly how this works, right? So essentially what you do, now bear in mind, if you are using the trial version, what you'll need to do is you need to go back into the MidJourney Discord group and use either one of the generals where everybody is using prompts to do it yourself, right? But if you pay for it like I do, so for me, I pay $10 a month for the basic, which you can do. As soon as you finish your trial, you can go and buy the basic, but it gives you the bot DM, which allows you to make things and do the prompts within your own Discord DM. So it's easy to find your own stuff, and also you're not having to like mess about finding it with other people, right? So let's go for something that is like a completely random prompt, right? So what we do is go / imagine Coca-Cola bottle on a aeroplane in the middle of space, right? Just do that and see what happens, right? Now it's just little prompts that you can just sort of find out. It might come up with, you can see there, you can sort of form a little Coca-Cola bottle or what have you. But I'll show you what to do if you're not particularly happy with the way that it comes out originally. Now, it might not look like much straight away, but as it generates a bit more, certain ones you can sort of make out they look a little bit better than others. Okay, right, so what it's done is it's done exactly what I feared would happen, is that the actual word aeroplane is actually being a bit of an interference. So you can see here, this is what, so that's actually trying to be the image that I gave the prompt to, but it looks more like a Coca-Cola rocket. But what it is actually trying to do is put a Coca-Cola bottle in space. So what's happening is the aeroplane word is actually causing a bit of confusion. So if I type, so I do / imagine Coca-Cola rocket flying through space and do it like that, then hopefully we should get something a bit more like this, which is just like a Coca-Cola bottle in the middle of space. Okay, so we've kind of got, they're more flying into space than they are flying through space, but generally speaking, pretty good. That one's obviously flying into space. You could argue that's flying through space, and that one is as well. That's flying into space. So that's pretty good. Right, now let's go with something a bit more simple. Well, actually, before I do that, let's just get rid of this. What I can do is show you how these buttons work. Right, so what we can do, so all these buttons do different things, but they do sort of similar things at the same time. So if you want to redo your prompts but keep the prompt text the same, click this button and it will redo everything. So I'll click it just a second, keeps the prompt, just basically re-rolling the prompt, right? Now, what the U ones do is that they are upscaling a particular image that you have generated. The V's is variations of the images that you've been given, right? So it'll make us another set. So let's say I want to make variations of version 2 because that's the closest one to what I think I'm going for with the prompt. If I click version 2, it'll then make variations of another 4 images based off of the information that it's got through making version 2. And actually redoing this, I actually think there's a couple of the prompts that images that actually look quite like that one looks quite close. But again, maybe not. But we'll go with this one. Let's make variations of version 2. So do that by clicking it. Right, so this is a different variation that's made from that one image. And most of these look pretty good. I think that was my favorite because that looks more like a Coca-Cola bottle than any of the others, right? So let's say I'm happy with that one. So what you then do is you go, so that's image 4. So you need to click U4, which is upscale image 4. And what it'll do is it'll upscale it within its own image, right? So like it's doing here. Obviously, it needs just give a bit of time just to upscale it properly and process it. And then you'll have various other options like upscale it to max. But we'll get to that when it's finished generating. Right, so we've got the upscale version of the image here. And I actually think that looks pretty good. But what you can do is we'll go back to making variations of this particular image. But you can also upscale it to max. Now, you can redo the light upscale ratio that we've just done here. But you can upscale it to max. Now, in my experience with using this software and I'm calling it a software because I don't really know what to call it. It's not really a bot because it's programmable software, really. It's just in the Discord bot. But my experience with using MidJourney is that sometimes upscaling to max distorts the image a little bit. I'm going to set it to upscale to max anyway, just to show you if it comes out like I mean it's going to come out. But I've upscaled to max a couple of my concept arts, and they don't look as good as they did originally. So again, it's up to you whether or not you want to do that. But I think if that's the sort of image that I was going for, which it actually is very like a Coca-Cola rocket fly. It's even flying through space. Look, this image here. This was what I did when I upscaled it to max. And again, it doesn't make huge amounts of difference to the actual look of the image. The increased visual clarity is what I'm trying to say. Sort of ruins it a bit, especially around like the hand and that, because his hands are way too thin and such. So, and that's upscaled completely to max. So in some ways it's good, in some ways it kind of ruins it. It just depends on what you want. You know, if that's okay for you, that's fine. But with that image, because to get rid of the like ultra detail, I need to go into Photoshop and just add a little bit of like a blur on it. But that's what you want to do, that's absolutely fine. So that's upscaled to max. And to be perfectly honest, considering I don't actually know what I'm looking for originally when I was looking for this image, I'm not entirely like, it looks all right actually, but it is exactly the prompt is exactly what you get on the tin, right? That is what it is. You know, a Coca-Cola rocket flying through space. You can argue whether or not it's flying through space. It's got stars and little like spaceships flying around, so you could argue it's flying through space. But you could argue it's flying into space because you could argue that this bottom bit is actually Earth's atmosphere. So it depends on your perspective, right? But that's why the variations button is good, because if, let's say, so you upscale this one, which is version 4, and you think, well, I actually quite like that, but it's not quite what I'm after. You can go and make variations of that version again, and then upscale it again, see if it's more to your taste and more to what you like. So let's do another one. We'll do one more before I end this video, because I don't want to do too much, just because I don't want to make this video drag on for as long as it needs to be. So it's not really like an awful lot to actually tell in detail, because I don't really know much about how the software works. But I just wanted to showcase it to you to show you what is actually possible and how to make it, right? So let's go old wooden, old wooden hut in the middle of a jungle. Actually, let's not go jungle, let's go forest. So, old wooden hut in the middle of a forest, surrounded by trees and wildlife. Let's add abandoned old wooden hut. Right, we'll go with that. Right, so abandoned old wooden hut in the middle of a forest surrounded by trees and wildlife, 4K octane render, ultra realistic ray trace, no blur. Let's see what that comes out with. So that's if you wanted to do something really quite specific. And again, the more details you give to this engine, the better your image is going to come out as. So if you want something ultra specific, you might have to re-roll it a few times. But if the more times you re-roll it, if you re-roll it with different prompts, the more detail you can put into this software, the better your image is going to come out with. And the more these different, like I've only put like 5 technically. 5 different sort of little prompts, so like 4K octane render, ultra realistic ray trace, no blur. But if you look back at the sort of things that we were seeing in the Discord server, you can see that there's various other different types of like image-based quality prompts that you can add in, which adds to the quality of the image that you're generating. So these are the 4 images that it's generated. I don't really like these 2. I like the look of this one, but it's too far away from the actual forest itself. This one looks like it's in a forest. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make variations of version 1 and see what that comes out with. Right, so this is the prompt. This is the variation that it's come out with. I actually quite like that one because that actually more resembles a hut, while these sort of more resemble like actual houses, if that makes sense. So that sort, I look like a hut to me is a bit like, you know, what you saw Yoda in on Dagobah and Empire Strikes Back. So very small, very concise. Nothing that grando, big scale. Just something small like this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do one more variation of version 3 and see what that comes out with. If nothing particularly else comes out from that, I'll upscale this one. Right, so that's all done. And as you can see, I still prefer this one over these 4 that's generated. So I'm going to upscale version 3 of this one. Let it upscale. Now, this will take a bit of time because this isn't actually like internet based. So I think your internet plays a little bit of a role, but not huge. If you've got a decent CPU, even one that's a bit more lower range, you'll be absolutely fine. But that doesn't make this go quicker because it's all server based through this bot. Alright, so it's finished upscaling. I've upscaled it to max as well. And as you can see, like I said, it's not perfect, but my god, is it ever close to something that looks quite realistic. Again, if you scroll in and you zoom in, you can see where things start to go a bit disjointed, like especially like around the edges and the tops and the little details with the wood grains. But if you scroll back out, like if I just show you that image or even that image, like that looks really realistic. Like, and I'm really happy with the way that's turned out. And like that's only with not that huge a prompt. So the more details and like more like the only thing that's actually missed out is the wildlife, which you could actually argue that plants are classified as wildlife if you really want to push the boat out, but that's your own, you know, if you want to actually put in specific wildlife, you can add in like rabbits and like wolves or like bugs flying around or things like that. But that's for you to experiment, and that's what I love about this. Is not only is it something for you to make your own things out of, but the more you use it and the more you mess about with it and the more images you generate, you're actually teaching the AI at the same time. So you're giving the developers more information so they can make it better. You know, they just released an update a few days ago as of recording this video, and they said, you know, one of the biggest issues that MidJourney has at the moment is it doesn't generate faces that accurately. And you saw that with some of the photos that I showed you that Cinematic Captures have made with the Star Wars stuff. And it's like, you know, it looks good and you can tell who it is, but the faces look a bit distorted. And what the developer was saying the other day was that one of the things that they're able to do now with the information they've got from people using MidJourney, as well as them learning themselves and coding and that, is that they can actually make the face look a lot more, should I say, accurate to an actual face, rather than it just being sort of like a disgruntled, disjointed image that resembles a face. So get into it. It's open beta at the moment. You get a free trial. I'm not endorsed or sponsored by MidJourney at all. I really want to show you this because I love it. It's been such an amazing tool for me to create concept art with, and it's just an amazing software or program anyway to use just for your own messing about kind of things. You know, I mess about with this at work. You know, when we've got like 10 minutes before I finish my work shift where we're not really doing anything, I'll say to the other time work video, give me a prompt. The more obscure the better, and see what MidJourney can come out with. And it's so it's so fun. It's a fun thing to play with, to do with your friends, even your family, or even your work colleagues, like I do. You know, it's so much fun, and that's what I love about this. It's not just for one specific purpose. You know, that the idea of just an AI generating images could be used for so much. You know, imagine if this thing goes mainstream, you know, and it gets huge, and people could, the more information that it pumps in. Imagine game developers or movie creators using MidJourney to create concept art. You know, think of somebody like me. I'm no good at creating concept art. When I'm doing Traitor 3 or I'm doing Traitor 2 or whatever, all the concept is all in my head, but that's where everything's coming from. But now that I've actually got image-based concept art for what I think I want something to look like, I can actually make things a bit more visually better because I know how it's going to look, or I know how it could possibly look. Now imagine that for game developers. That means that somebody who might be slightly dyslexic or might have a slight disability, who, you know, knows what they're thinking but can't actually visualize it, they can make concept art for games and movies because they've got the ability to just write down what they're thinking and decipher for themselves whether any particular image actually matches what they've got in their head. And then they can approach it and you say, well, we could use this because this is actually what I'm thinking, I just can't draw it. And that's where something like this, in, you know, maybe not so much at the moment because it's still heavily in development, but in the future, when this thing it's got a massive following, it's got a big following anyway. You know, the Discord community has got like 400,000 members, so it's not small by any means. But when this program gets so much more advanced, and let's say in another 5 years they're still developing on it, imagine where this software could be. It gets me really excited because I know what the possibilities could be, not just for myself but for so many others as well. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy, don't forget to smash the like button, hit that subscribe button for more awesome gaming, tutorial, whatever type content. So, hope you guys have enjoyed, and I shall see you all later. Bye!